Welcome to the roundtable. I'm Brad Wakai. That is Tyson Gentry. We're coming at you today talking a little college football action here on this podcast. Not too much going on, honestly, in the college football world. Kind of an off week last week. This week, similarly on the board. But, Tyson and I are going to be breaking down what happened in week 7 across the top 25 results, going over the marquee matchups this week, as well as discussing the games that we have circled that we're thinking about betting, as well as the games we've already bet. But Tyson, before we get into that, I guess this was a top 25 result, but your LSU Tigers, I guess our LSU Tigers, 6-2 on the year.
Yeah, and this was one that I was so sure they were going to lose. It felt good in that fourth quarter. It was all of a sudden, it was like, oh shit, this is what. If you lose to LSU in the daytime, you were never a playoff contender. You never had a shot. So Ole Miss, thanks for coming, thanks for playing. Lane, always a pleasure, my friend. And the other story that we got to talk about, because I don't know if we're going to get to it, but Jimbo Fisher is a clown, brother.
I hope they continue to be a clown, Tyson, just for our under bets on the season, which would be plus money, which would be a nice little hit to have in our account.
I think we're locked in almost. Like, what is it? One more loss and we're good?
One more loss and we're good, and hopefully it comes this week, and that's a no sweater, baby. So
we didn't have to sweat since week 2, basically. The offense sucks. The defense sucks. They're smoking weed in the locker room before the game. Jimbo has $87 million owed to him. Hopefully A&M has some boosters with some ego that want to get this guy out of there, because otherwise it's going to be a long, it'll be 3 more years before they can somebody else stomach. That's like, what does it go, 87 and then 82? It's like 3 years till they're under 50 or something like that, $1 million.
Something crazy. And the hilarious thing, they just signed him to a long-term contract. So good job, A&M. You guys are great over there. Really know what you're doing. Let's jump in it here. I'll just run through the top 25 results from week 7. Like I said, not too much going on. Penn State was 16 at the time, pounded Minnesota in the whiteout 45-17. Ohio State took care of business against Iowa at home 54-10. Tennessee played UT Martin. Who cares? Clemson was in a dogfight, number 5 at home, taking on 14-ranked Syracuse at the time. Escaped with a 27-21 victory that was a lot closer than that score suggested, but they scored 17 in the fourth quarter. Maybe we can touch on that a bit. Alabama takes care of business against Mississippi State 30-6. Like you mentioned, like we discussed, LSU 45-20 over the number 7 ranked Ole Miss Tigers, or the Ole Miss Rebels, in week 7. Kansas State loses to TCU. TCU wins 38-28. They stay undefeated in the Big 12. Oregon pounds UCLA 45-30 at home. UCLA 6-1, Oregon 6-1 overall. Oregon still undefeated in the Pac-12. Oklahoma State keeps their bid alive at beating Texas 41-34 at home. 3-1 in the Big 12. Now Texas moves to 3-2 in the Big 12. Wake Forest pounds Boston College. Number 21 Cincinnati beats SMU 29-27 on the road. And then the newly ranked Tulane, the Green Wave, I believe, number 25, beats Memphis 38-28 as they stay in the top 25. So nothing too much really to discuss here.
Pretty boring, yeah.
Yeah. I think, honestly, the most exciting game was Syracuse just hanging with Clemson for a while in that game.
And this is a really good Syracuse team. We've been saying it since before the season started. They're veteran-laden. They have a lot of really good players. Sean Tucker got banged up, actually, and I think that if he plays that whole game against Clemson, it's a different story today. We're leading the show talking about Clemson losing to Syracuse. How does this happen? I mean, the dude's ripping off 10 yards of carry, and then he can't play, which means we're kind of robbed of a great post-game tweet where he tells us his stats and how great of a mood that he's in. But it was just Clemson football. Going got tough. They kind of shriveled up for a little while, and then they woke up and did just enough to win the football game. That's kind of what they do. It's just kind of the team, and then everybody was all pissed. Oh, they stormed the field. They storm the field every game. That's what they do. It's a Clemson thing. So I wouldn't be too upset about that. But I think, if anything, this just showed that Syracuse is actually a legit top 15, top 20 team in the country, and it wasn't just fluff.
Yeah, I agreed. I think they took the best shot from Clemson. I mean, they're up 21-10 at halftime. Looked really good in control. I thought got a little too conservative in that second half. Clemson takes advantage and overcomes their 4 turnovers. So, you had opportunities there for the upset.
The getting conservative and losing the game thing is such a uniquely college football thing. It'll happen in the NFL too, but in the NFL, it's never the number one team in the country playing like an unranked school or whatever. With these college games, the coaches almost look around and they're like, holy shit, I did not think we were going to be up by 11. We better change everything that we've been doing to
I
get to
know.
this point. And then you play slow, you don't get first downs, you fall behind the chains, and then you lose the game. And that's just the most. It's week over week, dude. It's every week some guy that's not expecting to be in that position loses a game.
Let's touch on this one here. I mean, TCU wins again at home. You know, they were down 28-17 at half, and then Kansas State again, similarly to Syracuse, they don't score in the second half. I believe Adrian Martinez got a little banged up. So, you know, I mean, this was Kansas State's moment, right? Under Chris Kleeman. You know, this would have been a huge victory for him. TCU gets off the mat, and that offense continues just keeps steamrolling, and it's relentless over 4 quarters, and they prove why. You know, I believe, let me double check this, but why they're at least the top 2 favorite to win this conference.
Oh, they're a machine, and they can like legitimately get a first down on 3rd and 8 by running the ball. And most teams, you know, when you see somebody run up or line up and run a draw, it's like, okay, you're just trying to get in better position to punt the ball or something. You don't actually expect this to become a first down. TC doesn't care how they get it, and they might as well go for it on 4th, as they've shown a little bit of a gambler mentality down there. But TCU is awesome, dude. Like they're really, really good. Unlike the Syracuse situation, this was a game that Kansas State's played in these over and over and over again. And so I think this was just TCU putting their foot down and saying, oh, we're actually a good team. You guys are a fringe top 20 team in the country. We're trying to make the playoff. And TCU took a huge step in that direction.
Yep, TCU a plus 125 favorite to win the conference now. Oklahoma State plus 240. The second odds overall. Now, they beat Texas 41-34. This is a big game. You know, honestly, this is a similar theme. It's the teams on the road who continue not to score in the second half after being up big. You know, 31-24, Texas was up, and they only managed 3 points in the second half, melted down the stretch. Oklahoma State puts together 2 great fourth-quarter possessions and scores touchdowns on it. You know, and it was just Ewers didn't play great. His receivers, there were a lot of drop balls. But it was just another situation that you said off the top where coaching and game planning just completely went away from what was working. I mean, Bijan Robinson, 24 carries, 140 and a touchdown. Why you don't continue to ride him, why you just get into dropping back and throwing the ball is beyond me. Now, I get it. There's some adjustments Oklahoma State did in that football game, but at the end of the day, this is probably a 1st or 2nd round pick in the NFL that you could have continued to ride and when they got you to this point. And now Texas on the outside looking in for the Big 12 in a season that they, you know, were the most positioned to actually win this conference.
I'll put anything and everything that I have, barring injury, that Bijan Robinson is a 1st-round pick and not a 1st or 2nd-round pick. I think, especially in the NFL this year, with the people having luxury picks, a lot of good teams seem to have 2 stockpiled up. I mean, the dude's a monster. He should have got the ball. Quinn Ewers at 19 for 49. Something ridiculous like that. Like, Sark, take the ball out of his hands, dude. Like, that was really bad. But on the flip side, Spencer Sanders, 391 yards, a couple tuds, 40 rushing yards on the ground, something like that. He can play. And Oklahoma State is, you know, just kind of lurking, just waiting for somebody to make a mistake, and they're going to beat probably everybody else remaining on their schedule because that's the way that they seem to play. And they're going to kick the shit out of somebody in the bowl game that doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, Spencer Sanders was good too. 34 of 57. I know 23 in completion, but 391 and 2 touchdowns. Yeah, that's what you ask your seniors to do in these positions. That's what you ask your senior quarterback leaders to do in this position. And they came through at home in a big spot. Kind of last game to round up here from week 7 out of the big ones here. You know, I mean, Oregon really just pummeled UCLA. And it was 31-13 at halftime. Bo Nix was immaculate at home like he always is. 22 of 28, 283 and 5 touchdowns. You know, UCLA, it was just looked like they were overmatched in that second quarter and they could never recover.
You see that Bo Nix's Heisman campaign officially started? People were all the way in. People were all the way in on your boy, Bo Nix, winning the Heisman. Because he beat a UCLA team that nobody thought was good, and then they ran off a bunch of wins in a row, and then it was like, well, shit, what are they? They're 6th? Okay, that sounds reasonable. And so they get to go pound an overrated UCLA team at home and now Bo Nix is working his way into the. Let me go look at that. I want to say he moved into the top. He's 6. He just misses out on the top 5 for Heisman. So if you took the ticket after they got beat 49-3 against Georgia, you're feeling good.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they've won 5 in a row, 4 in the Pac-12. So interesting thought process there. And we kind of discussed it last week. You know, it seems like it's going to come down between the 4 teams of USC, Utah, UCLA, and Oregon. It's just who's going to be able to close this back stretch of the Pac-12 and compete in the Pac-12 championship against each other for a shot at, you know, whether it's the playoff, probably not, you know, with all these one-loss teams in there, but at least a chance for who's going to go to the Rose Bowl out of here. Okay, let's move to week 8 now. Let's turn the page on week 7. Let's move into week 8. And again, not too many impressive matchups here, right? In terms of marquee anything, but there are some big ones. I mean, and it starts on big noon on Fox. Ohio State goes into Penn State. You know, normally this is the whiteout game. Not quite sure scheduling wise what the fuck's going on there. Why it's in Minnesota, but Ohio State travels into Penn State. You know, honestly, a place besides that one block field goal that hasn't given Ohio State too much issue or too many problems. So, not sure your thought process overall. I mean, you know, I'm obviously going to be a little biased here, but you know, just your kind of bird's eye view of this matchup going in here.
Well, first of all, I don't think you as a Penn Stater should beat yourself up about Ohio State not having too many issues playing at Penn State, because they don't have too many issues playing at anybody else's stadium. They're good year over year. I was curious on your take on this. Do you, like, everywhere that I'm seeing says this is going to be a really high scoring game. Do you agree with that assessment?
Well, I think Ohio State
to make it
I think they can. I mean, Iowa scored. Yeah, I know it was a defensive touchdown last week, but I mean, if Iowa puts, well, I guess 3, their offense did. But I'm just looking. I mean, if Iowa gets 10 points on the board, I mean, you got to multiply that by 16 by whoever else plays them. So, I mean, 60 is a lot. I mean, in all seriousness, 60 is a lot. Ohio State's defense seems to be starting to figure it out, but I think Ohio State's going to be able to score a lot of points in this game. It's always been a tough matchup for Penn State's corners to compete against the athletes they have on the outside. It is a little different now with Manny Diaz there than with Brent Pry leaving the program. So I don't know. A 60.5, I'll just say on a surface seems very high, you know, especially with the weather being about 50 degrees there.
I'm really excited for this one because this is, and no disrespect intended, but this is the annual Ohio State gets to kick the shit out of a top 15 Big Ten team on the road. It feels like we get one of these every year, and unfortunately, occasionally it happens to be Penn State, but it doesn't matter if it's Penn State or Michigan State or whoever. They just kind of go in there and then they put up 55 points on offense. I'm not expecting some crazy blowout, but I don't truly expect this one to be close outside of maybe the end of the first quarter or first half, one of those things where Penn State plays with them with the juice at home. And then I just think Ohio State has a different gear that Penn State just doesn't possess.
Yeah, and that's been like the storyline with these two teams. It's always the first half. You know, they'll come out, they'll play. Second half adjustments. You know, the athletes just take over. Let's see.
I think the Michigan game's a really good blueprint on how I expect this one to go as far as game script.
That's very fair. Yeah, for sure. Now here's another one. Now right after on Fox 2 at 3:30 Eastern. Now, Oklahoma State goes into Kansas State. Kansas State wants to play spoiler. Couldn't get it done last week on the road. Now, can they do it at home against the Oklahoma State team? This is interesting to me because Oklahoma State's, I mean, recently been good on the road, but Kansas has played this spoiler at home so well over the years that I honestly think that they could win this game, and I think they can do it by a steady dose of the ground game. We saw what Bijan Robinson did last week. Now, I'm not saying Deuce Vaughn is Bijan, but he can get you going on the ground.
Like shrunk him down, like
if he was like the little Mighty Mouse, Bijan. Yeah. And if Adrian Martinez is healthy enough for this game, I mean, he can attack on the ground too. So I'm going to keep my eye on that report and to see what's going on here. But I think Kansas State is definitely live.
Well, that's the big if. Is if Martinez is healthy, this changes the complexion of this thing completely. My main takeaway and the thing that I'm looking for in this game, I agree with you. I think that Kansas State is really, really good in this role. We saw them beat Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma. I mean, you can run through the Big Ten. A lot of it was just Oklahoma, but they've beaten the best team in the conference or one of the best teams in the conference. It seems like every year, every other year, going back a decade. Oklahoma State is old. They have a lot of guys who have been here before, and we saw a week ago kind of being able to tread water until they could figure it out, and that's kind of been the story of the season. And unfortunately, it just wasn't enough in that double overtime loss that they suffered a couple weeks ago. Outside of that, I think Oklahoma State has the guys, has the coaches to maybe avoid. And I love this is now a trap game. Even though I know on the schedule when it came out, this thing was circled right away. It was like, oh, Kansas State's good. We got to be up for this one. But now that they lost a week ago, it's in Oklahoma State won. All of a sudden, it's like, well, are they vulnerable? They've been vulnerable since before the schedules came out. We knew who was going to be good.
Tennessee hosts Kentucky at 7 p.m. This is a very interesting game. I think the nice thing is that Tennessee just came off of a UT Martin game where they didn't have to go through another gauntlet of the SEC after beating Alabama. They got to, hey, we can dial it down a bit and then ramp back up for Kentucky. I think that's better if they have to go. Let's just say they had to play Ole Miss or somebody right after beating Alabama and then playing Kentucky. I think that spells trouble for Tennessee here. Tennessee's better than Kentucky. I think they're going to be able to attack them on the edge here. Listen, I mean, we've been on it. We thought Tennessee was going to be a really good football team coming into this year, and I think they prove it again in this one.
Well, this is a game that every college or NFL scout's going to be watching because over and over and over again, we've heard so much about a lot of players at these, a lot of prospects at these schools, but we know who the big two are. And unfortunately, Will Levis has been banged up, but that doesn't mean that people aren't going to be excited to see what Hendon Hooker can do or not do against a Stoops defense, which, by the way, is closer to NFL defenses in the way that they kind of run things than a lot of these other schools, even like Bama. Honestly, no NFL team has the fucking freaks that Alabama has afforded year over year. I'm excited to watch Hendon Hooker, his processing. I think that's the big thing. And I'm wondering if Stoops has a lot of smoke and mirrors that he can throw at him, try to confuse him. I think that Tennessee is on the verge of something really special. And Kentucky's shown it's just a college football thing, baby. They know how to win the big one. They don't win many games year over year that they're not supposed to, but every once in a while they pop up and they ruin somebody else's dream.
Yeah, and it could be this one, right? I mean, 5-2, 2-2 in the SEC. It seems like it's Mark Stoops by, hey guys, if we win this one, we're 3-2, so we're right there. I mean, at least we can compete and get a better bowl game. Yeah, if they win this game, they qualify, continue to win out. They can do pretty well there. And kind of a last game, and it's not marquee, but I guess just the names, because something funky always happens. Michigan's hosting Michigan State, and Michigan State's been horrible, and this line's 22. And something in me is just like, Michigan might be on fucking upset alert because there's something always happens in this game that's wonky. Now, in reality, I don't actually think that's the case, but I don't know. The boogeyman's there, and it is Halloween weekend.
Hey, a week ago, I was on here with no reasoning saying that Duke was going to dominate Miami. And I didn't actually know why I thought that, but it came true. So Brad's telling everybody out there that maybe a Michigan State money line ticket isn't going to be the worst thing to hold. Is that what you're saying?
Imagine. Oh, I wouldn't do that. I'd take the points, though. I don't know if I have the balls to take Michigan State +2 or on the money line as a 22-point dog. That would be a nice payday, though.
I mean, in actuality, though, I think if they played this game, if you simulated it 100 times, that Michigan wins 99, right? But they play the other one on Saturday.
Right, and exactly. It's Michigan's going to win this game more times than not. Probably at an 80-20 clip at least. So maybe it could be in those 20 games here. But that's honestly that's really it, Tyson. I mean, I don't know if there's anything besides, kind of like the top 25 matchups that you're keeping an eye on. And then we have a couple Thursday games. But, I mean, other than that, those are really the big ranked games we have.
Well, it's a super boring slate this week, kind of like Florida at Georgia probably looked a lot better before we got to this point in the season. But one that I am interested in, I think TCU West Virginia has a chance to be one of those games that just maybe something goes wrong. TCU's been living life on the edge here for the last couple of weeks, and Eventually that catches up to you. Is West Virginia in West Virginia? Are they the team to be able to do it? Probably not. But they're getting some respect with the 7.5-point line right now.
Weird things happen in Morgantown too when you got to go in there, and this offense can legit flat out score for West Virginia. We saw what they did against Baylor's defense, and that's a good defense and well coached, and they shredded them up. And TCU likes to give up points. This could be an overplay, especially at a noon game. I don't know. Maybe TCU is coming off that game, but their offense scores. I don't know. I have to think about this a little more, and that's kind of fitting as we get into games we've circled here, Tyson, because that was legitimately a game I was thinking of too. I'm like, do I have the balls to take plus 7.5? Because I kind of similar to me, or similar to you in that thought process. Like, man, TCU's got to go out to West Virginia after a huge victory, emotional, and this over/under's at 68.5. I'm eyeing both of those.
Yeah, and that's one that I have circled too, especially the over. Just because this, to me, like the play styles, the coaching styles, the disappearing act by both defenses at points this season, it's got all the recipes for like a 49-46, one of those random weird college football scores where West Virginia has the ball last and everybody's sitting at home holding their breath. To me, 68.5 is really, really, really high, but I'm going to take it.
Okay. You locking that in officially?
I'm locking it in officially. I guess I jumped the gun a bit, but yeah.
That's all right. That's all right. We'll get you in right now as I continue to look. You know what I just found out too, kind of like a segue. I don't know how it didn't register, but Devin Leary's out for the year.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Interesting line here then. I mean, something to keep. Another game I've circled here. Tyson gives out his official pick in that one. NC State's a 13.5-point favorite at home against Virginia Tech. Is Virginia Tech really that bad?
Maybe. I mean, this, as far as what I'm looking at on this game, I'm a little bit grossly, I guess, intrigued by the over-under line. Was it 37.5, 39.5?
39.5, yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of intrigued by that. It's the Thursday game at 5 or 7:30, I guess, Eastern. These games have not been fireworks over the last couple of weeks. These weekday games have been kind of slugfest, and Virginia Tech can't score the ball, and they're still adjusting to life without Dylan Lyric, right? So I'm going to be looking harder at that under.
Okay, interesting. Another one that I am intrigued by here that I was looking at. I mean, Boston College is a 7.5-point favorite on the road against UConn. You'd think Boston College can kind of run that score up. UConn's been pretty good actually here, but I'm just like, really, guys? But that's kind of more so of a joke. But here's what I'm legitimately curious about, and it's more so the Matt Campbell angle, and I don't like him, but in this situation, at home, 1.5-point dogs against Oklahoma. Why is that line so low to me? This seems like this could be an Iowa State game where they actually pull off a big program victory. Now, Oklahoma hasn't been good this year, but this feels like a game that Iowa State circles their fucking wagons for, wins big, and everybody's like, Matt Campbell's a genius.
What's Oklahoma's biggest win this year?
Jeez. Kansas.
Backup quarterback Kansas.
Yeah.
And now they're getting this respect as if they haven't been donkeyed 4 or 5 different times. Iowa State's not the team to run up the score on you, which might end up playing in Oklahoma's favor. But it's like we go from realizing that these teams suck to then they beat somebody that we all overrated because it was a great story, and disregard the fact of who was playing quarterback versus who got them that ranking in the first place. And now it's like, well, maybe Venables has got it figured out. Maybe these guys are going to start playing. They're having open tryouts in September, end of September, early October. Like, this is not a program that's in great shape.
What any other games that you've circled here, Tyson?
That's kind of it as I look through the board. There's a lot of ones that I'm going to be intrigued in where the lines settle because we've already seen so much movement. And some of these lines, like, I mean, one of the games obviously I'm interested in watching is going to be Cincinnati at UCF. I think that's going to be really good. But I'm so scared to make a play in any direction on this game.
Yeah, I'm kind of similar with you in regards to that. I mean, you know, UCF normally very good at the bounce house, but you know, they've kind of come up short there a couple times this season. I'll just kind of run through a few here that I'm intrigued by. I want to get your thoughts on. Maybe if we just do rapid fire, but I mean, Minnesota minus 13.5 at home against Rutgers. I don't know. That one seems a little scary to me. Yeah, how much can you really trust the snake oil salesman over there in Minnesota?
Row the boats,
That's
dude.
scary. How about this one here? I mean, Georgia minus 22.5 against Florida, over under 56.5. I feel like there could be turnovers in this one. I feel like Georgia can score. I don't know. That feels like a lot of points. I'd be maybe leaning more towards the over, but I'm not quite sure.
That one does. It feels like a lot of points to me, and it makes me want to take Florida in the points, which then makes me feel gross because Florida, they shouldn't finish in within that range, but it's been Jekyll and Hyde, and lately they've been a lot worse than people anticipated, especially after week one. But I mean, they have the team speed to stress any defense, to stress anybody. I look for Anthony Richardson. If he can bust off a couple huge plays because he's a freak, then maybe they can cover. But I mean, Georgia's just too deep.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking too. Gosh, it's just something I'm like, man, I feel like I want to play something in that game, but it's just not anything I'm
going to play
too
mute the
confident.
TV.
Oh, come on,
Avoid
man.
Gary.
Oh, come on, man. You guys are too hard on him. No, last game I'm kind of interested in here. I was really a 10.5 point favorite against Northwestern.
I know. So that over under is 37.5. Lowest one on the board this week. Rightfully so. Gotta be like, do these two teams combine for 40 points?
There's no way. There's no way, right?
That's what I'm like. This is going to be a 6-3 football game.
I don't get that. That feels like with that low total, that means it feels like Northwestern all over it. But can you really trust those guys? I mean, that's hard to do. All right, games we circled. That's kind of it for Tyson. Like we said, interesting slate this week. Nothing too big matchup wise. We got a couple Thursday games as well as a couple Friday games as well. So bets will be in the chalkboard officially for anything that we like as we get closer and closer to game time there. But we got to move into games that we've already bet for this weekend. Not too much again for me. Tyson already just told you his first one that he's going to do. TCU West Virginia over 68.5. The first one I have in the account already, Ole Miss minus 2.5 on the road against Texas A&M. Tyson told you they're in shambles. Apparently the players are smoking weed in the locker room. Prominent players aren't going to practice anymore for Texas A&M. Ole Miss just got pounded.
No, they're not smoking weed in the locker room. They're smoking weed in the opponent's locker room before the game. Before the game.
Yeah, so it's in shambles there. They're already talking about Jimbo Fisher, like what's going on. Like I don't want any part of that side here. It doesn't feel like there's gonna be a rally situation. Backing up Jimbo, like coach on the hot seat, let's perform. Feels like Ole Miss wants to do the opposite. Good bounce back spot for them. I'm gonna take him laying the 2.5, and I take it even up to 3.5, honestly.
I'm gonna keep it rolling with my love for Oklahoma State this year, and I'm taking Oklahoma State money line right now at minus 102. At Kansas State this weekend. The money line is better value than the points, and if that's kind of all that we need to be discussing. I think they win the football game. Like I said, they're just old, man. Like they've been here before. They've been in these moments. Whereas they're playing a Kansas State team that somebody was a freshman, right, when they had the last one of these, and they kind of remember what it feels like, but they haven't just done it. And Oklahoma State now knows that they cannot lose again to get to where they wanted to be preseason, and they need to get lucky. So they need to control what they can control, and what they can control is handling Kansas State.
I'm taking South Carolina minus 3.5 at home against Missouri. There's something going on with this football team right now in South Carolina. Shane Beamer's got them rolling. They're confident. They love them. This team's starting to really, really come together. They just beat Arkansas team last week. They've been looking good, man. I think they should be able to beat Missouri by this number. I think this is a touchdown game. I don't know how much Missouri really has left in the tank to compete the rest of the season. I like South Carolina to get it done. I'm going to take them laying the points.
I'm going to take Syracuse money line here as the official, but on FanDuel right now, it's Syracuse minus 3 is plus 100. And that means that's obviously going to change because that line's just going to move. They don't want to be giving up all that value on a minus 3. So I'm going to take it as a money line here just because I doubt people are going to be able to get that minus 3 at plus 100. But Notre Dame, Syracuse better than Marshall. They're better than some of these other teams that have really been giving Notre Dame problems. And it started out as like a fun thing at the beginning of the year. Oh, Marcus Freeman's a better coach than Brian Kelly. He's got these guys playing really hard. He's a couple years away from being able to imprint his guys on this thing. Brian Kelly didn't exactly leave him with – I mean, they were the best recruiting classes for Notre Dame, but Marcus Freeman now is inside the top 10 on every recruiting network database for who he's going to have come in, which is a number higher than Brian Kelly ever achieved at Notre Dame. So he didn't like leave the cupboards full, especially with all the transfers. This is a game that I think Syracuse could go one of two ways. They'll either be dejected after giving up that late lead against Clemson and kind of solidifying the fact that they have no shot at making the playoffs anymore, or it could be like, holy shit, we can play with the big boys. And now I don't care what Notre Dame's national ranking is. I guarantee you those guys on Syracuse are looking at them like, I want to kill these dudes.
Yep. And no, South Carolina beat Texas A&M last week. I got the upsets wrong in my head. You know, South Carolina, man, they're coming through. Win total bet still alive. So I'm loving it. My next one, USC minus 15.5. They did not play last week. They're on the road against Arizona. Now, Arizona's been playing a lot better this season. I think they show some fight. They have actually some competency, and compared to last year, pretty good quarterback in Jaden DeLora. But I think this is a game where USC wants to make a statement here. I think they can run up the score. The over-under is at 75.5. My only concern is Arizona could backdoor this thing on me. But USC loves to take the ball away. I think they can do that against Arizona. They're going to figure out a way to scheme some turnovers in this one. I'm going to take them laying the points here.
I'm taking Kentucky plus 12.5.
Ooh.
I think that they're going to lose this game. And I think that this game might not even be like a one-possession game at any time in the second half. But they're coming off of a bye week. And I know Tennessee just played, was it UT Martin or whoever, and they cruised and everybody had a good time and it was fun. But they didn't get the luxury of – they at least had to practice a little bit for UT Martin. Kentucky's been zeroed in on these guys for 2 weeks. I'm wondering, it didn't look like it. Tennessee doesn't look like they're stopping to smell the roses. But, again, this is a game that I think that if I'm Will Levis, if I'm everybody in Will Levis's circle, if I'm his agent, I'm like, dude, you want to go top 3? Because if we go out and beat Hendon Hooker, that's the way you can get your name back in the throw your hat back in the ring for top quarterback in this class. And that's the angle that I'm looking at it from, because I do believe Will Levis is a primetime player. I think that if he didn't go to Kentucky and if he went to Clemson, I think people would be a lot higher on Will Levis.
Last pick for me here that I've already bet. I got Pitt, North Carolina over 64.5. Pitt wants to run the ball. Like, that's like Narduzzi's like addicted to it again now after I guess they threw the ball too many times with Pickett last year. So he's doing the complete opposite. Now, the good news for Narduzzi is yeah, he needs a detox off the pass game. I don't know what happened. He OD'd on it, I guess. That was his reaction to them actually being competent on offense for once was head scratching. But regardless, the good news for Narduzzi this week is that North Carolina can't stop the run at all. When they played Duke 2 weeks ago, Duke put up 35 points. A lot of that has to do with the ground game. Quarterback is able to run. I think Pitt's going to be able to attack them on the ground. North Carolina's going to get slashed a bit, but Pitt gets shredded up through the air a bit too. I mean, they've had some points put up on them by West Virginia and by others in the ACC as well. So I like this game to go over 64.5.
That's going to do it for me as far as everything I got. I haven't officially placed it, but I will, now that we've talked about it, I will have a Northwestern Iowa under.
Okay. You want me to lock you in on that? Let me see.
I mean, you can put it in there. I don't have the ticket, so it's not legit at the moment, but yes, I mean,
you will be playing it.
That to me, like, that's going to be, if one team scores 3 touchdowns, like, that's it, right? This isn't going to be a 24-21 game. It can't be. Like, if this 21-17 sounds so far out of the realm of possibility, and that covers the over by a half point.
Yeah, that Jesus, man. I might have to play that with you as gut-wrenching as that's going to be, but my God. All right, well, that is our Money Making Time, again, college football episode. If you haven't listened, go check out our reaction to the Bears dominating the Patriots on Monday Night Football. Bears much better than we thought. And then check out our Thursday show after the Thursday Night Football reaction that's going to come out Friday. So again, schedule-wise for everybody out there, we are releasing episodes Tuesday, this episode, the college football episode Wednesday, and then our Thursday Night Football reaction and preview / predictions for NFL weekend on Friday. So that is the schedule moving forward in football season. Tyson, it's getting close to kind of crunch time here for college football. I think, we should start seeing some of these matchups pick up a little bit more soon.
Well, you'd think so, but the top 25 looks so different than what people were expecting the top 25 to look like that maybe that lauded back half of the season that we were all looking forward to is just going to be a bunch of one-sided beatdowns.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not. I don't want that to be the case. So, all right. We appreciate you guys listening as always. Like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate the support. Make sure if you have a question in the comment, whether it's on YouTube or Apple / Spotify, we'll answer your question on the show. Follow us on our social medias, Instagram @_the roundtable pod _ TikTok is the same, or our Twitter @TRT_pod. We will get the chalkboard back rolling. We're a little cool right now, but make sure to join that. That is in our link as well, as Tyson and I are bound to attack and get some units back this weekend. So we will talk to you Friday. Until then, peace.